Okay, I feel like this is quite overdue. Ugh. I feel like my life is a movie. I don't feel like I'm actually living it. I wish I kind of started this in the beginning, but we're here now and it is what it is, and I think I just needed to allow myself time to process it and just one step at a time. But about 3 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with lymphoma. Hearing the word cancer is not something that you really think would ever happen to you. Like, it's just always, oh, that happens in movies, or that happens to your best friend's husband's daughter's great aunt, or I think that made sense, but it's just not something that you really think is something that you'll ever have to face. I just want to also disclose that everyone's experience is going to be completely different regardless if someone has the same type of cancer or not. I'm not even in the experience yet, really, in terms of healing and recovery. I'm still in the beginning phases, and I just thought that it would be a very healing thing to do for my own sake, to document this journey, because I know it's going to be one that I will look back on, and I know it's going to be one that will end in resilience and strength. And so I just want to disclaim, everyone's journey, everyone's experience is going to be completely different, but maybe if I put this out there, if someone else is going through a similar experience. I know I have been the person watching these videos now, and now here I am making it, so it's a little bit weird. I guess I'll just kind of go back to the beginning a little bit. I'll just start with where I'm at right now, and then I'll go back to where it started, and then where I'm going. Like I said, 3 weeks to maybe a month ago, I was diagnosed with lymphoma. We did not know the staging yet. I am currently in the process of taking very high dose of fertility medication to preserve my eggs, as that is something that I did decide I wanted to do prior to starting chemotherapy. That alone is its own process itself. If anyone's ever done this before, I'm like, props to you, because my body hurts. Anyway, in terms of the actual cancer itself, it is now November 2022. In, I would say, February at the earliest, March for sure, of 2022, I had a lump in my neck. Not this aggressive one that you see here, but one down here. And I remember saying around the time, like, oh yeah, I have this weird bump in my neck. It might be like swollen lymph node. You know, I had a lot going on, so maybe it was just stress and maybe something had happened. Didn't really think anything of it. I went to my doctor initially, and I was like, oh yeah, I have this bump in my neck. And he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's all good. Lymph nodes swell all the time. It's probably just stress, whatever. And we did get my blood work done too, and there was nothing abnormal that came back from those results either, so we weren't worried at the time. Then another like month or so passed, and then we're into April. I had another lump in the same area, as well as like one or two up here. And I remember that because my RMT at the time had also felt them and noticed them, and anytime she would try and flush it out, whatever it was, it would just get worse and kind of more inflamed and more like irritated almost. I had started to feel this weird pain and discomfort in my armpit. This was especially apparent to me because when I would exercise, particularly when I would do like a seated row or something, I couldn't like retract my shoulder in that way without having discomfort. I couldn't do like a bench press or anything that involved a push or pull movement, basically, which is like a lot of movement. So that was really frustrating. And I remember going to my chiropractor and being like, I have this weird pain like in my armpit, and it also feels like in my chest. Like when I took a big deep breath, it was almost like this, I still have it. It's almost like this tightness that is being pulled. So I didn't know if I like pulled a rib or something was bugging me there. My chiropractor was like, okay, yeah, weird. We tried like multiple different approaches. We tried approaching it from my back, that was like my rhomboids, tried approaching it from the neck, like literally everything, and nothing seemed to pinpoint it, except for when he would dig into my armpit, it would release this for like a day, and I would feel like I could breathe again, because I literally felt like I was struggling to breathe and take those deep breaths, which is obviously very frustrating. Then after like a month of that, we were like, okay, well, it could be related to your like bumps in your neck here, but we don't really know, but I would ask your doctor about it. So I go back to my doctor again, and I was like, okay, I still have these bumps here. It had been about 2 months at the time. I still have this weird pain in my armpit. Don't know if that's related or not, but can we get something done? And he's like, okay, let's do another round of blood work. Again, didn't see anything except for the inflammatory markers in my body were super, super high. Also, meanwhile, I'm gonna backtrack. I have not felt like myself in probably a year in terms of energy levels and fatigue and just kind of overall motivation. And I don't want to use the word motivation in terms of motivation to go to the gym. I mean, like, I just did not have the energy to do the simplest of tasks that would typically be a very simple task for me. That was kind of a red flag, and I had told this to my doctor too, and you know, he was like, oh, well, you could have a chemical imbalance in your body. Here's an antidepressant. And while I know he means well, and no judgment whatsoever, I just want to explain that right now, there's absolutely no judgment to anyone who utilizes medication. Like, it's genetic, you know, there's some history in my family of having a chemical imbalance in your body. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I did try it for a little while and then realized it wasn't for me. And I also knew, I just had a gut feeling there was something deep down that was not right. So during this whole time, I had not felt like myself. Very, very, very fatigued. Never sick, but very, very fatigued, like all the time. Working out was very hard. I still showed up. I still tried to do it, but I was beating myself up so much because I'm like, why the F can I not do like a quarter amount of the volume and the intensity of the things I used to do? Like, I feel like I'm going backwards, and that was so frustrating for me, especially as a coach, because I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, I have all the materials, I have all the equations to do the right thing. I had a coach too. I had multiple coaches during this time that I was like, maybe I need more accountability, maybe I need a different approach, maybe I need more support, maybe I'm like overthinking it too much. And I tried and tried and tried and tried, and I just did not feel like myself. And then finally, I think it was like the third or fourth time, but I went back to my doctor and I was like, hey, something is wrong. These bumps are not going away. It had been like 3 months at that time, still crazy fatigue. And that's when he was like, okay, we'll do another round of blood work after the one that we found the inflammatory markers were super high. My chiropractor didn't know what to do. My physio didn't know what to do about this pain. So he's like, okay, you'll get an ultrasound. So then I had to wait another month for an ultrasound, which I understand, but given the situation now, I'm like, okay, pushing it a little bit. Anyway, I had an ultrasound a month later, again, still okay, just very fatigued all the time. Very not much like myself. However, I had a lot of change present in my life during this time as well. In the process of, you know, out of a relationship, I was moving, I was, you know, I'm graduating in December this year. There were so many things happening that I was like, you know what, I think I'm just burnt out. I have 3 jobs, I have my coaching, I also do social media on the side. Like, there's just a lot going on. So I genuinely thought that, okay, burnout is a very highly possibility of what is happening to me right now, and that's probably it. Anyways, a month goes by, get the ultrasound. Week after the ultrasound, my doctor calls me and he's like, okay, so you do have some swollen lymph nodes. It doesn't look too bad right now. Let's just measure them again in 3 months. I'll get another ultrasound in 3 months to make sure they're not getting any bigger. And I was like, okay, like, sounds good. Whatever. I was camping at the time. I was having a good time. I was more relaxed. So I was like, okay, it's probably nothing because I was just burnt out and like my life was just in a bit of craziness for a little while. It's fine. And then like 2 weeks later, I had this other bump show up here, and these ones had like doubled in size. Like, I felt them, and there's also one on this side here as well that I felt get bigger. And my whole like armpit chest area thing was not going away. So I called my doctor and I was like, I need to come in and physically see you, and you need to feel these and tell me that there's something wrong because I'm struggling here. So I went in and he was like, okay, yeah, that's a bit of a red flag. They've definitely doubled in size. This is weird. At that point, he had said the word potential cancer, potential lymphoma, potential outcome, and I feel like that's kind of a lot of doctors you know, worst case scenario. They kind of have to say like all the options. So at that point, I didn't really think like, again, I was juggling probably one too many things at the time. So much change was present in my life, and I would think I was just overdoing it a little bit, and it was kind of showing with my body. I was never sick. I was just very tired. So I thought it was burnout, and I was like, okay, it's all good. At that point, he's like, I'm gonna rush another ultrasound, and I'm gonna refer you to a specialist who is going to biopsy one of your lymph nodes. So I'm gonna refer you to the surgeon. Get a call from the surgeon a week and a half later, whatever. We decided to schedule a surgery, a biopsy, to take out a full lymph node out of my armpit. We decided not to do a ultrasound biopsy where they just remove part of the cell, because that could potentially be inconclusive sometimes. It doesn't tell you the full picture. So I was like, yep, it's fine. Let's just take out a whole lymph node. Obviously got more than enough going on. Let's just remove it, biopsy it, and tell me what this is. That was October 4th. I had the surgery. And at that point I was like, okay, like this could potentially be lymphoma, but at the same time, like the surgeon also said it could be a reaction from the vaccine, from the COVID-19 vaccine. I've seen this in other women your age. I didn't have any other symptoms in terms of having a reaction to the vaccine, but I also did not have any other symptoms consistent with lymphoma. I wasn't sick, I wasn't ill, I haven't lost a lot of weight quickly, but he did say this could be lymphoma, but it could also be. It was kind of like 50-50 at this point because I didn't have enough symptoms on either side to be conclusive about one thing before actually removing the lymph node. So about a week later, I had a post-op appointment with this surgeon to just look at the incision, and he said I probably won't have the results by then, but just come in anyway and whatever. So I go in, minding my own business, it's all good, didn't think I was gonna get any results. And that was October 12th, and he sat me down literally within 2 seconds and he says, you have lymphoma, you have Hodgkin's lymphoma. And at the moment I was just, okay, like instant, you know, anxiety, but I also was a little bit relieved because I have not felt like myself. And when I tell you, everyone around me I know can 100% vouch for me and back me up on this, that I am very aware of how I feel. I'm very in touch with my body. I know when there's something wrong. I could really feel there was something off, and I honestly felt relieved that I'm like, okay, something beyond me is impacting my well-being that I cannot control. Thank God I have an answer, because I cannot live my life like this in terms of how I was feeling, in terms of the lifestyle I was trying to live, in terms of exercise and fatigue and just not feeling like myself. I knew that something was wrong, so I felt relieved, but I also felt terrified. He said we didn't know the stage. That comes with more, you know, scans and that kind of thing. He said it's at least stage 2 given the regions that it is in your body, but we need more answers. So he basically was like, here, you have cancer, but I can't tell you anything else about your millions of questions that you have. I was like, well, how is this going to impact my life? What's chemo going to, and he's like, I can't tell you, that's up to the specialist. And I was like, okay. So I have an answer, but now I have a million more questions that you don't have the answers to. Great, it's fine. Okay, all good, it's fine. So after that, and this has been like weeks obviously since this happened, so I've had time to kind of process it. I feel like my logical brain has accepted it. I don't think that my like emotional side has. I honestly feel a little bit numb about the whole thing. I just feel extremely grateful that Hodgkin's lymphoma is very treatable. It's very common in terms of survival rates and, you know, being treated and being cured, and I'm confident in that. I'm not really more so worried about that. I'm just more so anxious about the treatment and like having to pause life basically and heal. And I personally feel that I've been very lost in the health and wellness space given my history with, you know, disordered eating habits and really bad habits with the gym. And I felt very like, there's one part of me that's very like, I genuinely love the body that I have right now, and I need to just accept who I am and stop trying to change my body that is not broken. But at the same time, I love the gym and I love exercise and I love being able to challenge myself. So finding that balance without getting the disordered eating, without getting the, disordered way of thinking of exercise and the obsessive way of thinking about exercise, and then without just being that acceptance and like promoting being unhealthy. So finding that balance in the middle has been very weird, but very homecoming at the same time in the last however many years it's been. And I honestly just feel grateful that, okay, this is something I can overcome it. I know I can do it. And my logical brain knows that it's going to be okay. And I know that I'm going to come out stronger, and I know it's going to end in resilience and strength. But what the fuck? Like, receiving a cancer diagnosis at 24 is not something that I would ever have to face, not something that anyone ever thinks they're ever going to have to face. This is not, I recognize that it could be so much worse, and there's so many other things that could have gone wrong. And I think I was honestly just a little bit blindsided because there was no indications in my blood work. My white blood cells were, fine. It was just the inflammation in my body was super high. But then around that same time, I started getting crazy night sweats. Like, we're talking like 5 to 7 times, no joke, up every hour, drenched in sweat. And I would go to bed freezing cold, wearing like sweatpants, hoodies, socks, blankets, like 2 blankets at once, no fans, no nothing, to waking up 2 hours later, like literally drenched in sweat. Love that for me. Love that for my boyfriend. Anyway, yeah, so crazy night sweats started to happen. I don't know, I personally believe that my body was like this and in this like fight or flight mode this whole time. And as soon as I got a diagnosis, it was like, we can just let it all out now. Now you can get sick. You weren't sick before? Here you go. Now you can get sick. Oh, didn't have night sweats? Here you go. Now you can have night sweats. Like, all of the symptoms of lymphoma started showing up. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see. Of course you can see this like humongous lump in my neck has appeared. It's beautiful. It's cute. I don't love that. Anyway, so then once I kind of feel like the timing lined up where I got an answer and all of these symptoms started coming, I'm very, very tired. Okay, like it's hard to walk up the stairs, and like you bend over and you're lightheaded, like very, very tired, very just kind of like lethargic almost. I'm very lethargic a good amount of the time. My focus is like non-existent. Trying to graduate and take 5 courses with 1 lab this year was like, well, that's not happening. I'm super, 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 super grateful that I was able to work out a scenario with my professors and with, the dean of the school, with my circumstances, to do X amount of work and still be able to graduate in December. I'm super grateful for that, because if it weren't for that, I would have had to wait for this is literally my 7th year, okay? 7 years. 7 years of university. My last semester, I'm 2.5 months away from graduating, and I get cancer. So I deserve it. I deserve the compassion in this situation, and I'm super grateful, because I would have had to wait till next fall, if anything, if I could still take the courses that I needed to graduate, because I'm taking very specific courses that I need for the rest of my degree. Anyways, super grateful for that. Super, super grateful for the jobs that I have. I'm able to work from home, and they've been so accommodating. I really love the work I do in terms of the social media, and of course my coaching. It allows me to be creative. It allows me to focus on something that is beyond everything going on in my life, but it's not draining. I genuinely love what I do, so that's not an issue, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I have. And I just feel like the next 6 months are not realistically, like the next year is going to be extremely transitional, extremely challenging and heartwarming at the same time, and just a big shit show of everything. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit everywhere. But honestly, not that excited to shave my head, if I'm being honest with you. My hair is about up to here right now. I had my extensions in, and when I initially had an appointment to get them moved up again, I was like, I'm just gonna kindly ask you to take them out because I'm gonna lose all my hair in a month anyway. And also, can you chop it off? Because it was actually like down here, it's actually pretty long. All my life, I'm trying to freaking grow that hair, and now, you know what, it's fine. We're just gonna start over. It's all good. I'll wear my little wigs, rock the bald look for a little while. It's gonna be fine. That honestly was one of the things that, you know, sounds so surface level and so silly of like, out of all things about cancer, like losing my hair, I was honestly like, wow, this is gonna be weird. This is gonna be a weird experience. Everyone always compliments me on my hair. My mom always laughs at me. She's like, yeah, well, I was the one that gave you the good hair in the family anyway. And she did. Her hair is fucking fantastic. I had great hair. I've always had really nice hair, and I'm super grateful for that. So losing it and being bald is something that is going to be interesting, but it is what it is. And my whole perspective is kind of like, you know what, I'm literally just trying to take it moment by moment at this time. I'm not thinking about months down the line. I'm not thinking about how much harder chemo is going to be as it goes. I don't know. I'm just moment by moment over here and trying to take it, like I said, not even day by day, but like moment by moment, and just have grace with myself and feel what I need to feel when I feel it. Definitely comes in waves. There's definitely times where I'm okay, like today I'm okay. But if something triggers me and I get upset, like I'm upset, and I'm just kind of, you know, you go back into this weird headspace of, I don't feel like this is my life. I feel like this is a movie that I'm watching. I don't feel like I'm living it, and I know what's probably going to hit me by the time I go in for my first round of treatment. So speaking of that, I also found out about a week ago that I have a very low fertility rate to begin with, based on the hormone levels in my body and the blood work that we had done. I have always wanted to be a mother, and having a baby is always something that I wanted, that was just a part of my path. I know there are other ways to do that, and I'm 100% if it comes down to that, that's all that matters. It's just not something you think you're gonna have to deal with when it's something that, like, I remember being like a little girl, like 13, and being like, I can't wait to be a mommy. Like, that's just always been my life, and being told at 24 that I already have a very low chance is hard. Is like, hard is an understatement. Like, it's what? What? How? Like, what? And likely after chemotherapy, I will be going into menopause reproductive wise. So for me personally, I wanted to freeze my eggs just for, I feel like I need to fight in every way that I can to do whatever. Like, I can't go later on. Like, I firmly believe that everything that's meant to happen for me, to me, for me, will happen the way it's supposed to. But I need to know that I tried everything I can, and that I fought in every way that I could. So literally was told that have a low fertility rate. Next day I go in for an ultrasound, and I like, they give me the hormones, they gave me the drugs like right then and there, and then in like a 2.5 hour, it was like a 3-hour appointment. Thank God my mom took me, because it was like in one ear out the other, because that's a lot. Super grateful for how everything happened. They luckily had, you know, a supply of the hormones on hand for oncology patients, which we're kind of on a timeline here because I'm also scheduled to see my oncologist on November 18th. I need to have my eggs frozen before then, just in case I can start chemotherapy as soon as possible. The other thing was a PET scan I need to get. So I've gotten a CT scan, and that one showed it's in my neck, in my chest, armpit area, and as well as in my abdomen, but we don't know where it's active. So the PET scan is what shows us where it's active. I was super lucky to get in on cancellation for a PET scan a couple days ago, which is really, really great, because now I have, by the time I meet my oncologist, my egg retrieval procedure will have already been completed, and my PET scan will have been done. So hopefully I can just start treatment right away, because I'm not gonna lie, these symptoms are not a fun experience to deal with. And of course I just want to focus on healing and getting better as soon as possible. This has just been a whirlwind. Again, I strongly feel that I've accepted it, like, logically, and I'm like, okay, it is what it is. Like, this is what we're gonna have to do. This is just gonna be a part of my story, and that's great. But there's also this emotional side of me that's very like, you're 24 and you just found out that you might not be able to have babies, and also you have cancer, and also like I also just moved out by myself. Literally October 1st I moved here, October 12th I find out I have cancer. Like there's so much going on. And again, I'm just grateful. I know that this is going to end in resilience and strength. I know it's going to be okay. I know I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to fight for it, and it's going to be okay. It's just, what the fuck? What is happening? I just feel like there's that. So yeah, that is my life right now. I really think that recording and documenting this journey is going to be something healing for myself, which is why I think I want to do it. And I think that, you know, I found myself looking at other survivors that documented their journey, and I felt very inspired, and I felt it was just a very heartwarming feeling seeing other people, you know, like girls my age that have gone through this or are going through this, and I'm like, you know what, I can do that too. And I hope that maybe someday someone's watching my video and they're like, okay, she just got her diagnosis, and she can get through it too because of maybe what I share. So I'm so grateful for the platform that I have in terms of the health and wellness space, and having a community of women and, you know, some men that people in general, mostly women, but people in general that support me in my health and wellness space and on my health and wellness journey this whole time. And now, of course, when they first followed me, it wasn't about cancer, and it's almost like you feel like I'm not allowed to share this because this is not why these people follow me. But at the end of the day, like, this is just a part of my health journey. This is just going to be the next, you know, year or so, and that's just how it's going to be. And I hope that I do find the right people, I do find the right support systems that do want to follow along. And I think that it'll be a very, very healing way to document everything going on, just for my own sake too, to be able to share and talk about the experience I've had, and hopefully help and influence someone else in some shape or form. And one thing too, that if you know me and you followed my journey for a little while, you know that I've struggled with body image. And one thing that I know that this is going to teach me hella is not being able to exercise and having no appetite. You know, my body is shifting, it's changing. We're a little softer, we're not as, you know, muscular, we're, you know, your composition's changing. And like, I'm just so at peace with that, because I know, like, okay, my body needs to heal right now. That is its first priority. And this, if anything, is making me so grateful for the ability to move my body, even though I can't right now. Never will I ever take movement for granted ever again in my entire life. Ever. No, not happening. Like, I'm gonna be a workout queen. Like, never will I ever complain about going to the gym again. Never will I ever complain about, you know, having the health that I do have and having the body that I do have, to be able to go 6+ months with this cancer in my body and not have been sick, and, you know, have the immune system that supports me, and just making it this far and being aware and having that mindfulness and having that awareness in my body has been something that I'm so grateful for, because I don't know how long I would have went if I didn't. You know, I've just been tired, and I kept pushing my doctor. I'm like, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong, and I need to look into this further. And of course, grateful that we did, because here we are. But I also just want to share that too. If you know something is off in your body, advocate for yourself. Do not let that go until you have an answer. It might not be anything, you know, serious, but it also might be. And you never know that until you actually do the research and dive into what it actually could potentially be. Not saying to go and like Google your symptoms. Obviously I did that too in the beginning. This was like the first thing that came up, and I didn't think that that's what would happen, but I mean, here we are. So you never know. Don't go Google your symptoms, but reach out to your doctor, reach out to a naturopath, reach out to someone. Same goes for mental health. If something is off, reach out for the support. I was feeling so off in the health and wellness space. I had coaches, I went to therapy again, and obviously there was something deeper and underlying that I couldn't, you know, fix with those outlets. But I still fought, and I still advocated for myself, and was like, something is not right, and you need to know that you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to take up space if you are not feeling like yourself. there's no guilt around that. There is no, even if you do advocate for yourself and you keep pushing and pushing and it ends up not being anything, cool, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. You tried, and now at least you know, and you can have a settled heart knowing that, okay, I tried and I advocated for myself and everything's okay, thank goodness. And yeah, that was a little bit everywhere, but yeah, I just think this will be a very healing way to document this next part of my health and wellness journey. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. I hope that I can hopefully inspire someone somewhere someday, and taking you along this chemotherapy journey is gonna be rough. I'm gonna try and just be totally transparent and I'm just gonna show up and as it is, not saying you're gonna see the worst of the worst, but I just think that it's a very healing way to move forward and document this journey. Obviously there's gonna be parts that I'm gonna keep to myself and I'm gonna just heal on my own, but the things I can share, if it can help someone and be a way to just show up again in the health and wellness space in a totally different avenue and a different, avenue than I ever would have, yeah, I'm gonna do it. That's what's going on with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support always. You are loved, know that, and I will see you next time.